Greetings from USEC. Welcome to this session. I guess all of us are in a very difficult situation world over, and it's very interesting for us to note that we have spent 6 months in the COVID pandemic. I hope all of you are safe. I really pray all of us are safe and we get out of this pandemic as soon as possible with all the blessings that we need. Okay, with those few words, I would like to start off my presentation. I'm here with all of you as Vijay Anand, representing the South Asia region for USEC, and I'm going to take you through a few data and some of the slides on South Asia Ag Industry Update. Most of you know the South Asia region. It comprises of nine South Asian countries, and from USEC terms, we operate with a soy perspective, and it has five countries: Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. That's where we operate. It's an important growth region in terms of GDP, population, and protein consumption. Speaking more of opportunities, we have taken data from World Bank and Worldometer. That's where they have said that about 24.89% of world's population is housed in this region. About 1.93 billion is the population as of May, and it has a growth rate of 1.2% as of now. We expect the GDP to go down from about 6.6% down to 1.8 and 2.8. That would be because of the COVID situation that we are in right now. There are two nice opportunities: protein and energy deficient. So a lot of protein and a lot of energy is wanting in this region, and that we look as a great opportunity. Look at the population. We have a median age of 26 years, and we call that as a very young population. In the years to come, these would be the drivers for consumption and demand. This is about the soy meal rate of change, comparing world to South Asia. And there is a pretty good pace for consumption change in our region. In the 6 years' time, we have seen about 2.1 million metric tons incremental consumption of soy meal in the region. You can see the figures, 201 to 235 in the world in those 6 years. That is about 16.6% change, while corresponding figures for South Asia are 28%. That shows that this area is pretty interesting for the future. This is a nice graph, very steady, very artistic line, but it is a very true story. As you see, the soy meal consumption is going up over the last many years in a very steady way. Look at the red arrow that is pointed, that crosses about 10 million tons, which means the region needs about 13 million tons of soybeans grown here or grown elsewhere or crushed somewhere and being traded into the region, whatever it is. This is going to further get extrapolated, and there's going to be pretty good growth. As I told you, there is a demand for protein and energy, and as that goes up, this graph correspondingly goes up. The region has to probably start imports if it is not able to grow enough soybeans and produce enough meal for its utilization, both in the animal feed and the human food sectors. The meal demand has grown from 7.54 million tons to 9.22 million tons. This is over like a short window of 4 years. That's about 1.61 million tons of incremental. And if you average it out over 4 years, it's like about 400,000 tons per year is an incremental. That means we need new meal of 400,000 tons every year. I've kind of spread this out on a larger window scale, about 10 years from 2000 to 2019. And that shows a figure of 7.8 million tons that was required in this region. That was newly required. And then if you average that out, automatically over 10 years, it is close to 800,000 tons of incremental meal that has been utilized in this region. Now that makes, again, South Asia a very interesting region, as you see. Interestingly, this entire growth of 10 million tons of soy meal and a short window of 4 years, a long window of 10 years, US soy industry has been working in this region for a pretty long time. And we have had test imports of US meal into the region in 2008. And then you see from the graph that in 2013 was where commercial imports picked up. And since then, it has grown 7 times all the way. And we are very happy that our South Asia buyers are showing great preference to US meal. And the graph is pretty steady. Of course, there's small ups and downs, but it is really growing. Let's look at the demand or the opportunity from a totally different perspective. And this is using soy as the animal feed as a soy use indicator. At 18%, 20 and 22%, we have it going from 10 to almost 12.5 million metric tons. And you see that of soy use in animal feed, and the total animal feed is about 57 million metric tons. If you go to the previous graph of that straight line that shows about 10 million tons of meal in 2021, that kind of corresponds to this 18% inclusion rate. And if we take the inclusion rate up, obviously there's more soy meal that is required. And as protein consumption increases in the region, more feed and soy demand is going to be there. And speaking of protein demand, you can see that there are different interventions that any stakeholder operating in South Asia can use. So that would transform into support for the animal ag industry from a soy perspective. Servicing the ag industry with the need of the hour technologies and knowledge is key to the stability in this region. And we've seen over the recent years that working on pull marketing strategies would definitely increase protein consumption. And it definitely is a new intervention that all of us are working. Now, coming to the right side, let's look at these hexagons. This region has become an important soy crushing region. So we have technical education for soy crushing plants. Most of them crushed canola or sunflower. They did not know how to crush soybeans, and we have really worked a lot with this industry to get it growing and teach them how to produce good meal and oil using US soybeans. Increasing soy inclusions and feed formulation. This is again a very green area. It's an area where almost every fortnight somebody has to intervene into formulations and look at the nutritional profiles for animal feeds or for human food. And with fluctuating prices, somebody has to keep working on this. So that's another intervention. It may be an old one, but every year there is a new technology for that. So it is an evergreen subject. Trade education. South Asia has been pretty new in handling soy imports from wherever it is. And then we from the US soy industry have taken it as an opportunity to educate people to be successful and be judicious in placing their orders or contracting or dealing with their price risk management. I think that has added tremendous value to all those success graphs that you have seen on the previous slides. Improving production systems and the species, the main species are poultry and aqua. We don't have beef or pork in the region, not much of that, not at all. And so most focus is on a very narrow group of species, which would be consuming almost all the soy in this region. And improving production systems, there is always a requirement for improved technology. So nobody can actually fight labor, power, and fuel cost. So the only way that we can come over that is to improve production system. And now look at the brown hexagon there. That's one of the recent pull marketing strategy where poultry consumption and overall protein consumption plays a role in actually tying up most of this demand. So both the demand pull and the push marketing and the pull marketing would really help the stakeholders in the industry. And it's a neutral open platform that anybody could adopt and be successful in this market. Continuing further on the protein pull strategy, protein consumption is a great opportunity in South Asia. As I mentioned in my previous slide, there is a great opportunity for protein and energy needs in this region. It's pretty deficient. Almost every person in this region is deficient of protein. Whoever it be, even the most educated person is it still follows grandmother's recipes. So they are definitely devoid of their protein in their diets. And with the great population, the young population that we have a greater understanding and greater knowledge base, and this is the right time for uh, such interventions. You see, a lot of stakeholders are working on this. Even during the COVID time, they are trying to emphasize the importance of protein, and poultry, of course, being the major animal protein, gets a lot of its attention. So very generic protein promotion, poultry promotion in this region is also a very successful aspect that one could work on. So this definitely is going to be a big thing in future, and it's going to help all stakeholders across the board, whoever is in the industry. Coming down to India's status as regional soy meal suppliers. Now let's look at those two big bars onto which I have pointed the arrows. It's like close to 5 million tons on the orange bar and about 5.6 million tons onto the right side, the arrow pointing downward onto the green bar. The orange bar is the export that India used to do once a few years back, that is 2010-11. But 2018-19, you see that the green bar has overtaken the orange bar, which means exports have lowered down. They kind of become erratic. You see that the black circle on the orange bars shows how unstable the exports have been over the last 5 years. And you see all the green bars that have a very definite growth pattern. And India now uses about close to about 6 million tons of soy meal internally for either food or animal feed applications. I think this is a great switchover. It actually speaks a different story that India needs to gear up for certain interventions in future. Would it be able to export a lot? Does it have the potential to produce as much as it is demanding? And also, if is there enough production to export? Who's going to fight for what is a story that is becoming very, very evident in the last 2 years, looking at the trend here. So what was once a high export volume is now used completely internally. And we would think that about 7 million tons of soy would be used in another 2 years. We are right now at close to 6 in another 2 years. And once it touches 7 million tons, I think there is definitely going to be a different story to address. And I think we all know what that is going to be. Exports have been inconsistent over the last 5 years. And a very interesting aspect is least developed countries have been a source of imports of soybeans into India. Now that tells a different story, that does India have enough, or it doesn't have enough, or it is because of the price that they are importing. So that needs to be seen. But this is truly a data-driven story that is there in front of our eyes to be tackled in the next few years. Bangladesh imports. This is a simple chart. You can see the green bars represent soy meal. The orange bars are soybeans, and you can see how the market has switched from a meal market to a bean market. Pretty steady. Both Pakistan and Bangladesh are close to 2.4 million tons imports in the next year. That's the forecast made by USDA, and this is again a very definite and steady growth, as you see. This is Pakistan. You see that they started importing beans only in 2015. Till then, most of their crush plants did canola, and their preference for soybeans, and especially US soybeans, where we have about close to 70% of the market in the region, is pretty impressive. And we are very happy with the preferences that they have shown for US soy. It's a great story again. 2.4 million tons predicted in 2021. And again, there is a very steady growth, a very good set of entrepreneurs there thinking very proactively on how to address the protein needs for their country in future. India's production of chicken meat, again, an interesting artistic graph, I should say, because these are not drawn on purpose, but these are definite positive growths. But I don't say that 4 million tons is a great figure there, because I've said that the per capita consumption on protein is pretty low. Once that goes up with the growing economy, this is going to grow further. And with all the pull marketing efforts, the media campaigns on protein, this pattern is definitely going to change, and probably will have much steeper growths in future. And this kind of growth corresponds with India's consumption graph that I showed you a while ago. So you just see that both the patterns are pretty similar. I said that there are two different species, main species, the poultry, which has the broilers and layers, and then we have aquaculture. Pretty important segment for soy use in South Asia. We are at 8 million tons right now in the region, as compared to 80 million tons in the world, and compared to close to 50 million tons of China, which has always great figures. Coming down to those boxes there on the right, India and Bangladesh obviously have the greatest aquaculture production. Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Nepal are small markets, but they have India and Bangladesh as cues or reference models, and they can readily use those models to improve their aquaculture. It's a good story. India is number two in the world for aquaculture after China, and Bangladesh stands fourth, I believe. Some say third, but I believe the FAO data says fourth. So whatever it is, we have two of these countries representing some world hallmarks in the region for aquaculture, which is pretty interesting, and that should be growing in future. This is data on aquaculture feed. Come down to the left side bottom, 3.9 over 6.65. 3.9 million tons is the total feed, that aqua feed that was sold last year, as against an installed capacity of feed mills at 6.65 million tons. Now let's go through these boxes from bottom to top. 2.4 million tons of aqua feed was sold in India. It has an installed capacity of 4.8 million tons. In Bangladesh, 1.5 million tons was sold, as against installed capacity of 1.85 million tons, and small figures in Pakistan and Bangladesh. So coming down to India, only 50% utilization of the feed mills is happening. That really needs to improve. We know the causes. The causes are actually listed. For Bangladesh, they are doing better than India on that because they're using their 81% of their aqua feed mills. That is because most of their aquaculture is adopting feed-based technologies. They have a wide range of species which India doesn't have. India has to improve on that. And they have plenty of water as raw material for aquaculture. All of us know that. So these are some of the opportunities that we have in aquaculture. My concluding remarks are a set of opportunities and constraints. The population as a consumption and demand base in this region is great. There is a low baseline for per capita protein consumption and energy intake. So there is an open playground for all of us to work and be successful in that region. Growing economy and young population definitely are, great demographic factors that fuel growth in this region. Coming down to constraints, slower adoption of technology, not a big deal. If we can increase education and extension and all such efforts, I think this is something which is in our hands. Policy hurdles and political issues, not very much in our hands because this is more government related, but definitely USEC and any other stakeholder operating in this region, even if it is a private company selling additives or feed or whatever, everybody has a great knowledge base, and they could be good knowledge sources for the government to rely on and take some good decisions in future. So there is we can work hand in hand there, and we have USDA, FAS also trying to bridge the gap between government and stakeholders like us. And we do they do, FAS and USDA does a great job in handling those issues and market access issues for us. Infrastructure, yes, roads, ports, loading, unloading, cold chain is a problem, but that stuff is improving because the customers are demanding greater product. Relatively low knowledge base in some areas, but again, it's in our hands, and we could improve that. And with that, I come to the end of my slides. And be safe, all of you, and thank you for being here, and thank you for this opportunity. Good day.